Lightsabers are more than weapons. They're symbols of power, identity, and occasional hubris. We're ranking the 20 rarest, strangest blades in Star Wars history, judged by rarity, how many exist. Strangeness defies design physics, law impact changed the galaxy, and visual distinction, does it outshine the Death Star? From ancient Jedi artifacts to Sith experiments that scream bad life decisions, these sabers reveal their wielders' quirks. Why add a crossguard? Why spin? Is that a corkscrew? Whether forged in sacred temples or cobbled together in questionable workshops, each blade answers one question. What happens when a Jedi or Sith thinks, "Hold my blue milk"? Spoiler: it's glorious chaos. Ready to see which saber claims the title of Most Unhinged? Let's slice in the hushed corridors of Coruscant's Jedi temple, where sunlight fractures through stained glass skylights and dust motes drift like drifting memories. A faceless sentinel emerges, its yellow pike humming in the silence, a beacon of unwavering watchfulness and self-erasure. Beneath the mask, no face stirs, only the weight of a vow to protect the sacred peace at the cost of personal identity. Long before the Clone Wars darkened the galaxy, the Jedi Temple Guards were established as an elite cadre of Sentinels. Jedi chosen not for glory, but for absolute neutrality and devotion to duty. Donning white and gold masks to erase individuality, they cloaked their identities in armor-weave robes that absorbed blaster bolts and resisted lightsaber strikes. Their signature weapons, the double-bladed yellow lightsaber pikes, extended from either end of a thick staff hilt, projecting twin plasma blades that glowed like molten brass. The yellow hue, rare among Jedi, represented a delicate balance between the combat prowess of Guardians and the wisdom of Consulars, marking these guards as living pacts between Force and reason. Stationed in echoing marble vestibules and shadowed archive rooms, they enforced temple law, detaining rogue Jedi, safeguarding holocrons, and maintaining order when whispers of betrayal stirred behind vaulted pillars. When whispers of treachery reached the council chambers, Padawan Barriss Offee accused of bombing the temple archives, the guards moved as one silent tide. Cloaked in anonymity, they forged through pillared corridors, their pikes igniting with a soft crackle that echoed like distant thunder. Offee, surrounded by Ahsoka Tano's distraught pleas, found herself bound beneath the steady gaze of armor-clad figures, whose very presence quelled cries and confusion. In a lesson etched into Sentinels in training, Chin Dralig himself led the operation. His masked form hovered beside a guard whose twin blades spun in hypnotic arcs, each rotation a reminder that even a Jedi must bow to the law of the Order. Under the soft glow of yellow blades, Offee's surrender was measured, the crackle of plasma panels punctuating the silence as she yielded her lightsaber. Yet the guard's greatest trial came mere months later, when Order 66 thundered through clone comm channels, and the temple itself came under siege. As Darth Vader's crimson blade lit the sacred halls, the guards formed an unbroken ring around the holocron vaults, their pikes converging in a radiant wall of yellow light. Bolts of clone trooper blaster fire streaked against their armor weave, falling away like rain on stone. Even so, the tide of betrayal proved overwhelming. One by one, masked figures slipped beneath twin blades and sonic booms, their final stand a testament to selfless vigilance. In the aftermath, scavenged pikes lay melted in collapsed halls, their golden blades flickering before the echoes finally died. Some guards, whispers claim, fell but did not perish, slipping into the galaxy's undercurrents, faceless watchers who carried the memory of the temple's last defense in the glow of yellow light. Though the temple guards vanished into legend, their yellow pikes endured as symbols of sacrifice and steadiness. Across the galaxy, stories of faceless sentinels inspired sentinels in training to value anonymity over acclaim and to wield the Force not for spectacle, but for steady guardianship. In the Jedi archives, hollows of their final charge are studied as cautionary parables, that unwavering duty must be balanced by compassion, lest protectors become prisoners of their own oaths. Coruscant's rebuilt temple features sanctum suites, quiet chambers illuminated by soft yellow panels, a tribute to those who stood guard when all hope seemed lost. Beyond the Order, the yellow blade lives on in the hands of modern Sentinels, Jedi who walk the line between action and restraint, their pikes a whispered echo of the Temple Guard's silent promise to stand sentry, faceless yet unwavering, wherever darkness gathers. But what happens when time-tested tradition meets raw innovation? In the shadowy alleys of Lothal, one young outlaw dared to ask, and forged a blade that could both slash and shoot. In Lothal's winding alleyways, where lantern light fractures on rain-slick cobblestones and distant house lights hum through fog, a lone figure stands guard over shadows and hope alike. Ezra Bridger's mismatched hilt glints against brick and mortar, half blaster, half blade, a testament to survival's demand for invention. Here, innovation is law, and rules bend beneath necessity's weight. Ezra Bridger first discovered his Force sensitivity as a street urchin on Lothal, orphaned by Imperial cruelty and raised amid whispered rumors of ancient Jedi. Under Kanan Jarrus's cautious tutelage, he scoured temple ruins for rare kyber crystals, forging his own lightsaber at age 15, a blade unlike any other. Lacking the reflexes to deflect blaster bolts with pure blade alone, Ezra fused a stun blaster module into his hilt, crafting a saber blaster hybrid that could both slash and shoot. Built from salvaged parts donated by Ghost Crew mechanics, the weapon's dual function reflected Ezra's outsider status and the evolving needs of Jedi in hiding. Its blue-white blade pulsed with tempered fierceness, while the blaster bore an energy tube patterned after Ezra's street urchin slingshot, a tribute to his humble origin. In that crude but clever design, hope and pragmatism intertwined, two sides of the same worn coin. During the early days of the rebellion, Ezra and his friends navigated Lothal's shadowy markets, smuggling supplies beneath Imperial patrols. When a squadron of stormtroopers cornered them near the old spaceport, Ezra's blade deflected blaster bolts in blazing arcs. Yet when his friends hesitated, frozen by Imperial numbers, Ezra flipped his hilt and fired a stun round into the nearest trooper's chest plate. That single shot, echoing against corrugated walls, shattered the ambush. Dual plasma and ballistic projectiles converged in a symphony of defiance, scattering troopers and clearing a path to safety. As his friends ducked behind crates, Ezra's mismatched hilt glowed, half the tool of tradition, half the tool of necessity. Later, on an abandoned freighter moored at the docks, the Ghost Crew confronted a higher threat. An Imperial interrogator droid whose sensors overwhelmed even their Force-shrouded cells. Jarrus's blade could only do so much. When the droid's energy net snapped shut, Ezra pivoted, transforming his saber into blaster mode and disrupting the droid's circuits with precise stuns. In that moment, Ezra's innovation reshaped their escape. The weapon's roaring plasma gave way to controlled bursts of pressure, buying time for Sabine's explosives to shatter rusted bulkheads. As hull plates crumpled, Ezra slipped through the breach, blade side first, proving that survival often demands bending the rules more than obeying them. Ezra's Saber Blaster hybrid became legend among rebellion cells, a symbol of adaptability when orthodox Jedi ways faltered under Imperial siege. Pilots on Lothal's secret runways whispered of the Outlaw Jedi who could gut a stormtrooper from 50 meters. In New Republic archives, his weapon is studied as a case study in guerrilla innovation, inspiring experimental modular hilt projects that pair plasma emitters with stun rod attachments. Yet for Ezra, the true legacy lies in the lives saved, and the lines he blurred between Jedi tradition and necessary improvisation. Modern Sentinels balance heritage and flexibility, recalling his words, "I might not be able to sword fight yet, but I can shoot." In that concise confession, the hybrid outlaw's philosophy endures. When darkness descends, you wield whatever light you can. If a saber can shoot, can it also spin? Ahead lies a swirling cyclone of menace, where fear and spectacle merge. A disk of dread forged to terrify Jedi survivors and redefine what a lightsaber can be. In the shadow-lit corridors of Imperial keep and fortress, a sudden hum crescendos into a roar, a rotating ring of crimson light slicing through darkness, spinning with inexorable dread. The Grand Inquisitor stands at its center, a cyclone of menace incarnate, his every sweep and spin designed to paralyze the will before it severs bone. Born of the Inquisitorius's dark ambition, the spinning disc hilt was engineered to terrify as much as it was to kill. Imperial weaponsmiths grafted twin kyber crystals into a reinforced cylindrical grip, producing a red blade that could extend in single or double-edged crescent modes, or transform into a deadly spinning circle like a chainsaw of light. The weapon's ring-shaped emitter guard concealed internal gyroscopes and magnetic stabilizers, allowing the disc to accelerate without tearing itself apart. Its creator, a shadowed sect within the Empire's forges, tested prototypes on abandoned battlefields, measuring fear responses in fleeing troopers before refinement ever touched a Jedi skull. The Grand Inquisitor, a Pauan of uncanny agility, proved its perfect wielder. His long limbs and deliberate grace masked the savage pulses of red light, bathing his foes in dread. Amid the rubble of a fallen temple on Atollan, scattered Jedi survivors scrambled for hidden exits, until the humming cyclone of blades halted their flight. A single disc-mode spin sliced through a stone pillar, sending shards like sparks of doom into the gloom. Some dared to fight. Most fell silent at the sight. When one master lunged, expecting a standard duel, the Inquisitor pivoted, unleashing a spinning torrent that battered shields and fractured lightsabers as though they were brittle reeds. He pressed his advantage, rotating the disc faster until its edge glowed white-hot, forging a barrier of whirling plasma that no apprentice could breach. Jedi crouched, their blades flickering in fear as the Inquisitor advanced like a living tempest, each step shaking ash from vaulted beams. Yet, in that moment of unparalleled spectacle, he committed his fatal miscalculation. He focused on the swirling disc's hypnotic pattern rather than the force currents beneath his feet. A displaced foot, hidden by whirling light, slipped on loose rubble. In that heartbeat, a lone survivor, bloodied and desperate, dove beneath the rotating ring, brandishing a broken blade with trembling hands. The disc's momentum carried it past its wielder's guard, and the inert ring clipped a support beam. Sparks erupted as the ring's edge ground against metal, destabilizing its gyroscopes. The weapon's scream of shredding mechanisms echoed louder than any battle cry, and the grand cyclone of red light sputtered before collapsing into a single flickering blade. Inquisitor and weapon spun apart, the ring clattering to the floor like a fallen crown. The survivors seized their moment, and the Inquisitor's retreat became a scramble, the once unstoppable spectacle reduced to a desperate dash for the shadows. The broken disc lay in Imperial evidence vaults, its ring emitter housed behind shields as a grim testament to hubris. Black market forgers studied its failures, wary of the stabilizer's lethal feedback. Inquisitors shunned spinning modes thereafter, reverting to simpler crescent strikes that demanded less faith in fragile machinery. Jedi historians etched the tale into cautionary tomes. Fear is a blade, but spectacle alone does not win wars. On Coruscant's hidden training grounds, young knights spar with weighted rings, honing footwork to avoid the allure of the spinning disc's fatal flaw. Sometimes the rarest weapons are born from the rarest crystals. But even a crystal's magic cannot cure a broken design. Ahead lies a saber whose hue defies all expectation, forged in both light and shadow, whose blade will reveal how color itself can become legend. Beneath the vaulted ceilings of the great temple on Yavin 4, whispers drift among silent holocrons, a soft copper glow stirring where light rarely dances. In that hallowed stillness, Lowbacca's bronze blade ignites, casting elongated shadows across moss-choked stone and echoing ancestral roars. Here stands a Wookiee Jedi, forging his own spark in the legacy of Chewbacca, carving an identity as enduring as the temple's carved glyphs. Lowbacca, a Wookiee born to Calabau and Mahrakor, was heir to Chewbacca's storied legacy, yet determined to chart his own course. In 23 ABY, at 19 cycles old, he journeyed to Luke Skywalker's Jedi Praxium on Yavin 4, bridging Wookiee strength and Jedi discipline under Master Skywalker's careful watch. Amid the Praxium's dusty control rooms, Lowbacca scavenged computing relics, a flat focusing lens, data cores, and a solitary enhancement jewel, ingredients rare even among Jedi artifacts. Combining these parts with his innate technical skill, he assembled a hilt of polished duralloy and woven cortosis fibers, embedding the jewel as his saber's crystal. When ignited, the blade roared to life in molten bronze, its club-like form recalling clubbing Wookiee ancestors and welding Jedi tradition into a singular instrument. The bronze hue, unique among the 10,000 sabers in the archives, blazed like dawn in the temple's vaults, a silent proclamation of Lowbacca's individuality and respect for heritage. During a clandestine mission to infiltrate the Shadow Academy's hidden stronghold, Lowbacca's bronze saber became both a weapon and beacon. Under veiled Apex's flickering lights, Padawans Jason and Jaina Solo were ensnared by dark side traps, their lightsabers deactivated. Steel-jawed guerrilla droids advanced, sensors scanning for force signatures. Amid crackling lasers, Lowbacca leapt forward, bronze blade drawn in a sweeping arc that reflected red-blue flickers of gunfire. His first strike shattered a droid's headplate, sparks scattering across the chamber like molten rain. Each swing of the bronze glow cleaved mechanical limbs and severed power conduits, the club-shaped blade delivering blows that echoed in the narrow corridors. As clones fell back, Lowbacca roared in Shiriwook, a primal call that reverberated in the concrete walls and galvanized his companions. Cornered at the heart of the Shadow Academy, a cavern lit by phosphor vents, Lowbacca faced the assassin Tamith Kai, her dual crescent sabers poised like twin scythes. Kai's strikes came in blinding speed, strokes of silver intended to bypass armor. Yet Lowbacca's bronze blade spun to meet each blow, the club-like width-absorbing blows that would have maimed a human Jedi. In a moment of desperate clarity, Lowbacca channeled the Force through his Wookiee sinew, planting his feet and slamming the blade's pommel into Kai's midriff. The impact shattered her balance, and the bronze saber's glow hummed as it severed her connection to her Kyber shard. With Kai's defeat, the chamber fell silent, save for Lowbacca's ragged breath and the soft resonance of his blade's edge. Lowbacca's bronze saber entered Jedi records as an enigma, an enhancement jewel's singular glow that defied convention and inspired new generations. Archivists note its existence as testament to the Jedi ideal, that every student, regardless of species, may forge their destiny within the Order's embrace. In Coruscant's Jedi archives, a preserved bronze saber segment rests beneath glass, its surface etched with Wookiee runes and Praxium calibration marks. Pilots on New Republic skiffs speak of the Wookiee torch, a code that evokes Lowbacca's unbreakable will. Younglings sparring under Master Yoda's watch are reminded, a blade's color reveals the heart of its wielder. Thus the bronze Enigma's flame endures, illuminating the path where legacy and individuality entwine. But not all rare colors are found in the official holocrons. Beyond known spectra, fan lore and hidden archives whisper of hues unseen by most eyes, where imagination forges sabers as colorful as dreams. In the flickering glow of countless screens, a lone spark of pink ignites, a beacon of rebellion in a galaxy awash with blue and green. From humble forum threads to hollow archives of distant worlds, the legend of the pink lightsaber begins not in temple forges, but in the boundless creativity of fans. Here, imagination carves a path beyond canon, painting new strokes of hope across the monochrome canvas of tradition. Long before the pink saber graced official holocrons, it lived in whispers across message boards and fan fictions, a symbol of yearning for something boldly different. In pixel-lit chat rooms, early concept artists sketched hilt designs wrapped in magenta filigree. Coders created holo mods that bathed training simulators in rosy light, while storytellers penned tales of Jedi whose empathy shone as bright as their unconventional blades. Each post and pixel spread seeds of possibility. If the Force is boundless, why must its colors be limited? As fan-made animations and 3D renders gained traction, whispers reached the ears of expanded universe authors. Editors debated whether to acknowledge the pink blade of Ursa Jan, a character born online whose compassion and courage resonated with a new generation. When a brief cameo in a young reader novel depicted a supporting Force sensitive with a rose-tinted saber, the dream leapt off screens and into shelf-worn pages, validating years of grassroots imagination and turning pink from pariah to possibility. The defining moment came at the Galactic Creative Collective Convention, where fans and creators converged beneath banners declaring, "Color your own destiny." In a packed auditorium, a panel of veteran storytellers unveiled the first official reference. A historic datapad entry naming the Blossom Blade, its kyber crystal irradiating pink resonance when bonded to a wielder whose heart embodied compassion. The crowd erupted as concept art splashed across hollow panels, sweeping sabers swirling with pearlescent pink, hilts etched with ancient runes celebrating balance and warmth. Weeks later, a flash news clip from a Koros station holofeed showed a wandering Jedi ex-knight stroking a rose-glow saber's edge, its hum soft as a lullaby. Children gathered on dusty streets, eyes wide as the blade cut dawn's gloom with a gentle pulse. Merchants in orbiting stations hurried to craft replica hilts, while slicers reverse-engineered holocam shaders so home sabers could glow pink at will. What began as niche fan service bloomed into a quiet revolution. Pink was no longer an outlier, but a statement of pride and empathy woven into the Force itself. In the Jedi Temple archives on Coruscant, Master Raylan Torsen hesitated before cataloguing the Blossom Blade reference. Tradition weighed heavily, yet the entry glowed with authenticity, a testament to the living force that thrived in unexpected hands. The pink saber's acceptance marked a subtle shift. The Order recognized that innovation often springs from the edges, where creativity bridges the seen and unseen. Today, the pink lightsaber stands among the rarest blades, a testament to imagination's power to reshape reality. Initiates in hidden enclaves train beneath soft rose illumination, their sabers reflecting values of compassion and inclusion, alongside martial prowess. Expanded universe novels explore Blossom Blade wielders across eras, weaving narratives of empathy triumphing over conflict. Collectors prize first edition replicas, their hilts polished to a soft sheen that catches light like dawn's promise. Beyond official lore, the pink saber endures in fan art, hollow tributes, and whispered bedtime stories on countless worlds. Reminders that the boundary between canon and fan creation is as permeable as the Force itself. In embracing a color once forbidden, the galaxy learned that true strength often blossoms in the most unexpected hues. Some sabers are rare because they're forbidden, yet beyond regulatory edicts and tradition's fence lies a sword of ancient darkness, the Sith sword, where metal thirsts for the dark side and no blade carries such forbidden weight. Beneath vaulted ceilings where time itself seems entombed, the grand archives of Coruscant breathe in shadows. Dust motes drift like forgotten constellations through amber-lit aisles, and silence pools thick as velvet, until it shatters. A crack splits the stillness, sharp as fractured bone. From the trembling grip of a scholar erupts a crimson blade, its glow staining parchment and stone alike. Jocasta Nu, keeper of the archives, devoted her life to safeguarding the Republic's most priceless records. Holocron after holocron, every scroll catalogued with reverent precision. Yet beneath her scholarly robes, she carried a hidden conviction that knowledge alone was not enough to protect the galaxy. When war spilled into Coruscant's politics, conspiracies twisted facts into weapons. The Jedi Council forbade her from arming herself beyond a standard lightsaber, but as whispers of treason spread, Jocasta took matters into her own hands. In a forgotten corner of the archives, she unearthed prototype schematics left by a long-dead Jedi artisan, a hybrid design merging lightsaber technology with a long-rifled emitter barrel. Late nights found her combining kyber shards with graviton accelerators scavenged from senatorial couriers. Cortosis mesh lined the barrel to absorb feedback, while durasteel reinforcements steadied each shot. When at last she ignited the weapon, it hummed like a scholar's heartbeat, each pulse a promise that knowledge, once weaponized, could change the course of history. The archives trembled the day Senate security forces stormed the vaults under orders of a covert cabal. Holocrons smashed and guards fell, their questions unanswered as blaster fire shattered stained glass windows. Jocasta Nu, pinned beneath fallen pillars, rose with eyes alight. In one smooth motion, she swapped her blade for the rifle configuration, the red saber plasma coalescing into a focused beam through the long barrel's corridor. Firing overhand, she cut through battle droids that advanced on terrified archivists. Each shot seared archive doors apart, granting scholars time to escape toward hidden catwalks. As the Cabal's assassins pressed in, Jocasta unleashed staccato bursts, each pulse tearing circuits and scorching armor. The archives echoed with sparks and splintering stone, pages fluttering like wounded birds. Yet she paused before the Senate's most guarded chamber, the sound of her rifle's low hum warning traitors that knowledge could defend itself. When an assassin clashed onto the balcony, she dropped to one knee, framing her shot through the saber rifle's scope. The beam cut cleanly, severing the assassin's weapon and sending him sprawling into discarded scrolls. With one final burst, she locked the chamber doors behind her, turning a sanctuary of information into an improvised fortress. Bloodied and gasping, Jocasta stood atop shattered databanks, the crimson glow painting her scholarly silks. In that crucible of dust and flame, she proved a lesson no holocron could teach. That knowledge, wielded like a blade, demands courage to be defended by any means necessary. In the war's aftermath, Jocasta's rifle saber vanished from official records, deemed too controversial even for the hidden vaults. Yet tales of her stand spread through both Jedi enclaves and underworld cantinas, inspiring covert defense units to train as archivists turned fighters. Hidden libraries on distant worlds adopted similar hybrids, except theirs were forged with transparency, a recognition that some truths cannot survive without protection. On Coruscant, younglings whisper of the scholar's gun, a symbol of balance between thought and action. In secret ceremonies, Jedi acolytes practice with inert replicas, learning that when tradition fails, improvisation reigns. Jocasta's rifle lives on in those whispered lessons. That knowledge is power, and power, if wielded justly, can become the galaxy's greatest shield. When tradition fails, improvisation reigns. Ahead, we'll meet blades that stretch the very definition of form, elongated lances forged for war, poking holes in convention as deftly as they pierce armor. In the gleaming throne rooms of Zakuul, beneath chandeliers of starlight and marble pillars inscribed with ancient runes, a forest of elongated pike-hilted lightsabers stands ready, a silent testament to unwavering loyalty and the Empire's might. These lances, more hilt than blade, extend into focused plasma tips that glow like distant suns, wielded by the Knights of Zakuul in unbroken ranks, their discipline as razor-sharp as the weapons they shoulder. Crafted in the Eternal Empire's forges, each lightsaber pike begins with a shaft of reinforced frick alloy, chosen for its legendary resistance to lightsaber strikes, and cortosis weavings embedded along its length for added durability. At the end rests a short, thick blade, usually 1.5 times the diameter of a standard saber, whose energy emitter is activated by a switch set along the pike's shaft. When ignited, the blade forms a stable, lance-like plasma tip, deadly precise, yet demanding mastery over balance and distance. The knights form the personal guard of Emperor Valkorion, and later Arcan, parading before the throne in perfect formations that echo the clang of ancient legions. Their pikes symbolize the Eternal Empire's unyielding order, long-reaching arms of authority that maintain space between ruler and subject, question and answer, rebellion and suppression. Each knight undergoes grueling training in the hero's cut and the knight's cut, forms that blend the pike's reach with shielded defense, crafting a style both ornamental and lethal. When deployed on the battlefield, these lances impose a deadly phalanx. Under coral skies and bloodied banners, knights advance in unison, rotating their pikes to deflect incoming fire, then thrusting forward in a wave of incandescent energy that cleaves droids, beasts, and traitors alike. In the cloistered halls of the Eternal Throne, however, their presence is as much spectacle as it is security, a reminder that loyalty to Empire demands both form and function. Yet the pike's form carries inherent flaws. Its length hampers close combat, requiring maintenance of distance that cannot always be guaranteed in twisting corridors or sudden ambushes. In the famous Battle of Darvanis, a rebel strike team infiltrated the throne room's balconies, forcing knights into tight quarter fights where their pikes became unwieldy. Narrow hallways and low ceilings turned the lance's reach into a liability, their shafts catching on carving alcoves and shattered statues. In one pivotal clash, Knight Captain Zandril spun his pike into a horizontal arc to sweep approaching guerrillas from the platform, only to have the shaft's tip gouge a floor panel, destabilizing his stance. A rebel duelist exploited the stumble, slicing through the blade's emitter coupling with a traditional single-handed saber, causing the pike's plasma to collapse in a shower of sparks that sent Zandril sprawling. The sight of a fallen captain and fractured pike reverberated across the arena, shattering the illusion of invincibility. After the skirmish, Emperor Arkan decreed tactical revisions. Knights would carry a secondary traditional saber for close quarters, and pike training would emphasize adaptability rather than rigid formation drills. Yet the pike remained the visual hallmark of the Eternal Empire. Its lengthened silhouette displayed atop banners and etched into coinage, an emblem of power that even crippling pragmatism could not erase. In quieter moments, within the throne room's mirrored recesses, the pikes stand as silent sentinels, reminders that allegiance can shape arms as much as arms can shape fate. Their elongated shafts, tipped with focused light, embody the Empire's reach, a gentle stroke from afar or a crushing blow at the Emperor's command. Yet beneath the polished form lies an immutable truth. When tradition stifles flexibility, even the most majestic weapons can falter. Snow fell like powdered ash over Starkiller Base's frozen wastelands, drifting onto cracked ice and gleaming metal corridors. In that brittle stillness, a crimson glow pulsed, Kylo Ren's Crossguard igniting with a sputtering roar that cut through the biting air. Two lateral vents spat fire like wounded wings, and the unstable blade hissed its warning. Power unleashed yet unchained, a testament to a soul torn between light and shadow. Ben Solo's journey from the light began in the hallowed halls of Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy, where hope lingered among the ancient walls. Yet whispers of legacy weighed heavy on his shoulders, echoes of Anakin's fall and the Skywalker name's jagged promise. Within that pressure, Ben's connection to the Force became a tempest, pulling him to the dark side's raw edge. On Starkiller Base, wielding his first lightsaber, he shattered its unstable kyber crystal in a desperate moment of rage. The fissured shard fused to a custom hilt, its core ablaze with fault lines of red and silver. Fearful of collapse, engineering knights drilled two lateral vents into the chassis, creating crossguards that bled plasma to stabilize the core. In metal and fire, Kylo fused violent emotion with meticulous design, birthing the Crossguard saber. Part relic, part reckoning. The weapon became an extension of his fractured psyche, unpredictable, volatile, yet strangely beautiful. Each activation released hissing sparks and distorted hums, reflecting his inner turmoil in sound and light. From Academy shadows to Imperial triumph, his blade declared that power, once contained, could and would burn from within. The bitter wind carried the clash of sabers across Starkiller Base's hangar, where Kylo Ren faced Rey and Finn amid starship wreckage. Ice glittered beneath their boots, and every breath hung in frozen clouds. Ren's Crossguard ignited, its unstable core flaring as he lunged, each strike unleashing geysers of red plasma. Rey parried with cautious grace, her blue blade quivering against the crackling Inferno. Atop a twisted walkway, Kylo advanced, the vents hissing like twin wounded beasts. Sparks shot skyward, illuminating his mask's cracked facade. When he swung in a wide arc, the unstable crystal pulsed violently, sending a shockwave that knocked Finn off balance and rattled Rey's resolve. Each clash resonated like thunder, echoing in cavernous steel. Yet in his fury, Kylo stumbled. The crystal's fracture widened, its core threatening meltdown. Rey sensed the moment's precarious edge and pressed forward, her blade humming a plea for peace. In that instant, Kylo hesitated, his hand gripping the hilt as smoke curled from the vents. The flame at his command flickered, betraying his doubt. Rey seized the opening, slicing across his gauntleted arm. Plasma sizzled in midair as the Crossguard's right vent clipped a support beam, its vent welds glowing white-hot. The blast sent Kylo staggering back, the fractured crystal sputtering and splintering in fits of crimson light. His saber collapsed to a single, unstable blade, before flickering out entirely. Silence reclaimed the hangar, broken only by distant rumble of collapsing ice. Kylo Ren stood, breathing ragged, his Crossguard's fire extinguished. In that frozen void, he faced the wreckage of his creation, a weapon that mirrored his own volatile soul. Rey lowered her saber, her gaze steady but uncertain, as the true cost of unbridled power settled beneath the falling snow. Kylo Ren's Crossguard saber became a legend among the First Order's elite and rebel factions alike, a weapon of spectacle and fear, yet born of personal fracture. Knight aspirants studied hollow clips of its ignition, learning of the crystal's unstable dance and the thin line between control and collapse. In hidden workshops, engineers experimented with vented hilts, seeking to tame volatility, but few dared replicate the core's raw power. Across the galaxy, its image appeared on propaganda hollows, the flaming Crossguard symbolizing the First Order's ruthless resolve. Yet in secret circles, whispers spoke of the blade's failure, its extinction echoing a warning that raw emotion, left unchecked, can shatter both crystal and spirit. Some blades are not just rare, they're legendary. Ahead, one saber defied color itself, forged in ancient Mandalorian rites, and reborn as a symbol of leadership, where heritage and power collide in black light. Beneath the high domes of Sundari's crimson skies, where wind chimes tinkle against marble spires, a lone silhouette stands before the throne, its blade a flat void that drinks the light around it. The Darksaber hums with silent authority, its black edge reflecting centuries of conquest and promise. In that moment, all eyes turn to the symbol of Mandalore's ancient kings, as power and legacy converge in obsidian flame. Long before the Great Purge and the Mandalorian civil wars, a young Jedi king named Tara Vizsla walked the twin paths of knighthood and clan. Born on Mandalore, he blended Jedi training with warrior traditions, forging peace between his people and the Republic. In the quiet heat of the Jedi Temple's forges on Coruscant, Tara crafted what would become the Darksaber, a blade unlike any other, its flat, black plasma rippling across a single-edged form that defied the curves of common lightsabers. When he returned to Mandalore, the weapon was both marvel and mandate, a symbol that only those deemed worthy by clan and council could claim the title of Mandalore. Over the centuries, the Darksaber passed through triumph and treachery, battles in crimson deserts and ice-clad strongholds, each wielder adding their own chapter to its storied history. When the saber resurfaced after long absence, its black glow reminded all who saw it that Mandalore's heart beat strongest under a hand as firm as it was just. In the throne room of New Mandalore, sculpted from black obsidian and ivory columns, Bo-Katan Kryze knelt before the Darksaber's resting place. The halls echoed with whispered hopes. Rebuild the homeworld, restore clan unity, reclaim former glory. When she grasped its hilt, the blade snapped to life in a silent blaze of coal-black energy, and the clan's warriors erupted in rallying cries. Under her command, they repelled scattered Imperial holdouts in a battle wreathed by solar flares and storm-driven sands. Yet while Bo-Katan wielded the Darksaber with righteous fervor, she faced a deeper test of legacy. Loyalty fractured among families still wary of Jedi influence, and a rival faction led by Clan Vizsla's traditionalists challenged her right to rule. In a council of clan chieftains, she presented the blade, its dark sheen a solemn plea for unity. Spears of light flickered as each chief took turns attempting to ignite its spark, only to find their saber crystals denied by the ancient hilt. When Bo-Katan reactivated the Darksaber with effortless grace, the assembled warriors bowed, acknowledging that true leadership required both strength of arm and clarity of purpose. Later, on the ramparts overlooking Mandalore's ruined capital, she trained a new generation beneath the blade's watchful hum. Under starlight, apprentices learned that power untempered by wisdom led only to ruin, a lesson ancient as the Darksaber itself. Its black edge shimmered against the night wind, reminding them that legacy is forged through both victory and sacrifice. The Darksaber endures as the ultimate symbol of Mandalorian identity. In holocams across the outer rim, its black glow heralds treaties and coronations alike. Clan banners display its silhouette beside the mythic skull of Mandalore the Great, uniting warrior and ruler under a single standard. Educators in rebuilt academies teach that the blade's power derives not from plasma alone, but from the honor of its wielder, an ideal as immutable as the blade's obsidian shine. When disputes arise, tradition calls for ritual challenge. Only by winning the Darksaber in combat may one claim the right to lead. Through each passing age, the ebony edge remains a torch in Mandalore's night, an eternal reminder that true rulership springs from unity, courage, and an unyielding bond to one's people. But even legends have rivals in rarity. On distant worlds, other sabers hide in myth and shadow, blades that bend metal, sing with living light, or burn with colors unseen. Next, the enigmatic paradox of Mace Windu's violet beacon awaits. In the vaulted council chamber of the Jedi Temple, torchlight dances on ancient mosaic floors as a single blade of violet brilliance ignites the hush. Mace Windu stands at the heart of the circle, his amethyst saber humming like distant thunder, regal and ominous. In that moment, power and restraint coalesce, a living paradox of light and shadow balanced on a razor's edge, his will shaping destiny with every deliberate breath. Mace Windu's path began long before he claimed a seat on the High Council. Born on the austere world of Harun Kal, he survived its harsh deserts through discipline and a natural affinity for the Force. Rising quickly through Jedi ranks, he earned his place among masters by demonstrating both unmatched martial skill and philosophical depth. When it came time to choose his blade, Windu did something unprecedented. He personally requested a kyber crystal that resonated not with calm serenity, but with a vivid violet hue, an echo of his unique balance between justice and compassion. Smiths in Coruscant's hidden forges struggled with the crystal's unstable resonance. Many attempts produced uneven blades that flared or sputtered until Windu intervened, channeling the force to attune the crystal's heart. At last, it settled into a flawless amethyst beam, its color a testament to Windu's mastery and willingness to chart his own course within the Order's traditions. The defining display of Windu's purple paradox came during the waning days of the Clone Wars. On the storm-lashed decks of an immobilized separatist flagship, Count Dooku awaited the Jedi emissaries who sought his surrender. As Windu led a small vanguard through corridors slick with coolant, his violet blade cut through shadows, a beacon guiding armored clones toward the bridge. When Dooku appeared, cloaked in dark robes and wielding twin curved blades, the air crackled with anticipation. The two former masters circled amid shattered holoprojectors, their blades igniting in violet and red. Dooku's lightning crackled like a tempest, but Windu met each bolt with unflinching defense, the purple beam absorbing and redirecting energy in seamless arcs. He struck with precision, driving Dooku back until the Count fell to one knee. Yet it was not mere combat prowess that defined the encounter, but Windu's refusal to give in to vengeance. Though the Chancellor urged execution, Windu's code held firm. Duty demanded justice, tempered by mercy. In that moment, his violet blade became more than a weapon. It stood for the ideal that power must be governed by unwavering principle. When the duel ended and Dooku was bound, Windu deactivated his blade with calm resolve, its purple glow fading into the stilled air. Clones moved forward to claim the prize, but the saber's final note lingered, a lesson in balance resonating through the ship's silent corridors. Windu's purple saber inspired generations of Jedi who saw in its hue a symbol that the Force could transcend strict dogma. Padawans studied holovids of the Dooku duel to learn that mastery meant more than raw power. It required moral courage. In the Jedi Temple's training halls, instructors taught the Windu form, a style emphasizing measured strikes and inner calm. The purple blade's image imprinted on sparring dummies and mural frescoes alike. Across the galaxy, the purple saber became a quiet reminder that distinction in the Force could come from individuality, not conformity. On Yavin 4 and Lothal, young Force-sensitive recruits whispered of the amethyst edge, dreaming of forging their own path. Even as legends faded and new threats rose, Mace Windu's purple paradox endured, a vivid echo that true strength lies in harmonizing light with shadow. Some sabers are rare because they're lost to time. Beyond hidden vaults and forgotten holocrons, ancient blades await rediscovery. Sabers whose histories vanished with empires and whose secrets may yet reshape the galaxy once more. Beneath Tatooine's twin suns, where dunes stretch like endless tides of time, a single spark of gold pierces dawn's haze. Rey Skywalker kneels in the shifting sand, her yellow blade casting long shadows across tomb-scarred tombstones and buried legacies. In that silent moment, the saber hums like a promise reborn, the end of an age of conflict, and the dawn of a new chapter written in light. After the fall of the Empire and the legends of old sagas, the Jedi Order lay scattered, its temples empty, its traditions fractured. Rey, a scavenger turned savior, wandered desert and ruin seeking answers, guided by echoes of both Skywalker and Kenobi. In the heart of a forgotten temple on Tatooine, she discovered an ancient yellow kyber crystal, its facet worn smooth by centuries of neglect. Inspired by the silent sentinels of Coruscant's lost temple guards, who once wielded double-bladed yellow pikes in unwavering vigilance, Rey envisioned a blade that could bridge past and future. With a hilt pieced from her own staff components and tempered by Force-guided instincts, she forged a single-bladed lightsaber whose sunlight hue embodied hope's renewal. That yellow saber became more than a weapon. It was a torch held high after endless night, a testament to resilience and the belief that even the smallest spark can ignite a galaxy's rebirth. On the shifting dunes beyond Jakku's ruins, Rey confronted remnants of the First Order, stormtroopers and dark acolytes drawn by rumors of her power. As the cold wind whipped sand into stinging curtains, she ignited her yellow blade. Unlike the stark blue or green of old Jedi, this hue glowed like firelight on the edge of oblivion. The first clash was sudden. A squad advanced on her position, their white armor stark against ochre sands. Rey moved with fluid grace, her saber carving arcs of gold that deflected blaster bolts in shimmering bursts. Each step was measured, driven by the legacy of those who came before, yet informed by her own intuitive style. Her strikes were precise. A spinning crescent disarmed one trooper. A downward slash unhinged another's helmet. But the trial deepened when a wounded dark-side acolyte, cloaked in charred robes, charged from behind a broken turret. His red blade crackled with malice. Rey pivoted, the yellow glow filling her vision with dawn-like clarity. They traded blows, saber against saber, in a dance of opposing light. Sparks flew, illuminating their faces with fleeting warmth. As the duel reached its crescendo, the acolyte unleashed a surge of dark energy, swirling sand and heat into a vortex. Rey closed her eyes, breathing slowly, anchoring herself in hope. She raised her saber high, its golden blade flaring, and thrust forward. The blade's light cleaved through the vortex, dissipating shadow and gale in a single, resolute stroke. When she opened her eyes, the acolyte lay still, the yellow glow painting the dune in gentle relief. Rey collapsed to one knee, feeling the weight of both victory and responsibility. This was more than triumph. It was proof that new legacies are built upon both old wisdom and brave innovation. Rey's yellow saber became an icon of the new Jedi Order, its hue adopted by acolytes across scattered enclaves. Far-flung temples on Ahch-To and Lothal echo with the golden glow of their blades, each saber a sunrise rising from past darkness. Teachers remind apprentices that yellow bridges light and shadow, urging them to balance compassion with courage. Across the galaxy, storytellers pen new epics. The Dawnblade Chronicles, Sunrise of the Skywalker, tales where yellow steel stands against tyranny's night. In crowded cantinas and quiet shrines, holocams display the Saber's first duel on Jakku, inspiring countless to reclaim lost hope. Rey's legacy reminds all that an ending carries within it the seeds of a beginning, and that the brightest dawn arises after the longest night. Some colors are so rare, they're almost myth. Beyond known hues, whispers tell of blades forged in rainbow light, of prisms singing with every step. Yet none capture the spectrum's wonder like the elusive spectrum saber, awaiting those bold enough to dream beyond the spectrum. In the twilight hush of Corvus's ancient woods, where mist curls around gnarled trunks and moonlight weaves through silver leaves, two blades of pure white ignite with silent grace. Ahsoka Tano stands between shadow and memory, her twin sabers humming like distant bells. In their glow lies redemption's promise, to cut through the dogma that once bound her, forging a path of independence and rebirth. Ahsoka Tano's story began under the watchful gaze of the Jedi Order. Apprenticed to Anakin Skywalker, in a time of hope and conflict. Yet the Clone Wars tested every creed and loyalty, and false accusations by the Senate severed her ties to the council she served. Branded a traitor and forced into exile, Ahsoka wandered in search of purpose beyond the strict binary of light and dark. Among the ruins of an abandoned Inquisitor's outpost on Moraband, she discovered 2 Kyber crystals stained red by dark rituals. Where other Jedi saw corruption, Ahsoka saw potential. With steady hands and a clear heart, she guided the crimson blades through a meditation of purification, letting each pulse of the Force cleanse the crystal's wounds. When she ignited them afterward, the once bloody cores glowed pristine white, symbols of her journey through darkness into self-authored light. These sabers embodied her new philosophy, not bound by order or dogma, but guided by compassion, experience, and an unwavering resolve to protect those unable to fight for themselves. The first public test of Ahsoka's white sabers came deep within Corvus's haunted forests, where whispers spoke of a hidden Inquisitor hunting survivors. Under a pallid moon, Ahsoka moved through mist-shrouded clearings, guided by the faint echo of her own heartbeat. A lone Inquisitor emerged, a figure cloaked in obsidian robes, wielding a spinning saber whose crimson hue burned like a wound. Ahsoka advanced, white blades glinting like fallen stars. With twin strikes, she deflected lethal arcs of red energy, each parry singing against her wrist guards. The Inquisitor pressed the attack, spinning his vicious weapon to drive her back into the twisted roots. Yet, as his crimson blade descended in a fatal arc, Ahsoka's white sabers crossed, absorbing the blow in a silent flash. She riposted with a graceful lunge, her dual beams weaving a storm of white light that shattered the Inquisitor's weapon guard. The crimson saber snapped from his grip, skittering across mossy stones. Without hesitation, Ahsoka paused, lowering her white blades in mercy. The Inquisitor's mask fell away, revealing a haunted face, no longer a threat, but a victim of fanaticism. In that moment, the forest stilled. Ahsoka's white sabers hummed softly, their glow painting her silhouette as both judge and savior. She offered a hand to the fallen Inquisitor, and in that act of compassion, she proved that redemption is not won by bloodshed, but by the power of choice. Ahsoka Tano's white sabers became icons of hope, whispered across war-scarred worlds. Rebels in hiding spoke of the ghost of the Jedi, her twin white blades striking from shadows to protect the vulnerable. Hidden enclaves trained in her style, blending defense and compassion to mirror her dual commitment to justice and mercy. In the New Republic's fledgling academies, instructors displayed replicas of her white crystals, teaching that bonds to the Force transcend institutional edicts. Holodramas recounted her trials, exoneration, exile, and emergence with blades purified by conviction rather than command. Young Force-sensitive seekers revered Ahsoka's path, seeing in her white sabers a map for forging one's own destiny beyond ancient schisms. Even on Corvus, where specters once roamed among the trees, murals now line temple walls, 2 strokes of white light cutting through twilight, a testament to balance shaped not by dogma, but by the heart's enduring capacity for renewal. But what if your saber is a rainbow? Beyond the boundaries of canon, legends speak of blades shifting through every hue, spectrums of possibility that defy the most vivid imaginations. In the shifting dreamscapes of the Force, a single blade blooms in prismatic splendor, its glow flowing from crimson to violet in seamless radiance. Called the Rainbow Lightsaber in whispered legends, it appears only to those unshackled by convention. Its every hue a promise of endless possibility. Within its shifting brilliance, hope and wonder entwine, reminding seekers that the Force's spectrum extends far beyond blue and green, if only one dares to imagine. The Rainbow Lightsaber has no recorded forge, no master who claimed its creation. Instead, its birth lies in the collective dreams of Jedi and Sith, visions where kyber crystals refract all colors at once, uniting light and dark in perfect harmony. Fan tales tell of a hermit on a barren moon who discovered a crystalline prism deep in a cavern, its facets alive with every wavelength. Guided by the Force's song, this wanderer channeled energy through the prism, igniting a blade that shimmered like sunrise caught in a dewdrop. Though dismissed by academia and forbidden from holocrons, the myth endured in faded data cards and codices hidden in forgotten archives. Storytellers on distant outposts painted it as the ultimate outlier, a saber that transcended affiliation, usable by those whose hearts embraced all facets of the Force. Generations later, children in hidden temples rehearse its lore as bedtime legend, believing its spectrum holds secrets yet unspoken. In a secluded valley of Ilum, where crystal forests hum with latent power, a young Force-sensitive named Serra stumbled upon an ancient cave filled with shards of colored kyber. Drawn by an inner call, she gathered fragments of ruby, sapphire, emerald, and amethyst, weaving them into a makeshift hilt. As she focused her intent on unity, the shards fused into a single iridescent core. When ignited, the Rainbow Lightsaber blossomed in a cascade of color, each hue flowing into the next like strokes on a painter's palette. Word of Serra's blade spread through cloaked beggar camps and temple sanctums alike. A deputation of Jedi arrived, their blue and green sabers humming in quiet concern. Master Kalen, bearing a blade of pure white, stepped forward to test the legend. In the twilight hush, he clashed with Serra, not in hostility, but in ceremony. Their blades danced, white met rainbow, and Serra's kaleidoscopic edge responded in kind, each color flaring to meet each technique. Onlookers gasped as the hues shifted with every parry, violet wrapping around emerald strikes, crimson meeting cerulean thrusts. The valley trembled with color, as if the very crystals of Ilum resonated with the blade's chorus. When the duel ended, neither stood as victor. Instead, they bowed, acknowledging that the saber's power lay in collaboration rather than conquest. Seeing the potential and the peril, Master Kalen decreed the blade remain in seclusion, its spectrum too intoxicating to risk misuse. Serra agreed, placing the saber upon a crystalline altar deep below the ice. Yet the vision of its brilliance endured in all who witnessed it, a reminder that the Force's light need never be confined to a single note. Though the Rainbow Lightsaber remains locked beneath Ilum's glacial halls, its legend ignites creativity across the galaxy. Holocams in distant cantinas show holo artists rendering blades in every possible hue. Storytellers on Coruscant's lower levels weave tales of a saber that can heal as well as harm, each color symbolizing a different facet of harmony. In orphanages on Taris, children fashion radiant toys from reclaimed tech, dreaming of blades that reflect their boundless hearts. Within secret Jedi enclaves, acolytes practice color-blending lightsaber drills, hoping to glimpse the rainbow's full spectrum in controlled bursts. Though no one has yet reignited Serra's blade, the myth persists as a testament to imagination's power in the Force. Its true magic lies not in the wavering plasma, but in the boundless hope that one day every facet of light and dark might shine together. Some sabers are rare because they're forbidden to exist. Yet beyond myth and dream, other blades haunt memory and metal, ancient swords drawn from darkness itself, where every cut carries the weight of forbidden power and the promise of untold secrets. In the heart of Korriban's tombs, where the air hangs thick with the weight of 10,000 unspoken oaths, a blade sleeps. Its obsidian surface drinks the faint glow of ghostly braziers, runes etched along its edge, shimmering like fresh blood under moonlight. This is no mere weapon. It is a covenant, a sliver of the dark side given form. The Sith sword does not rest. It waits, coiled in the silence of its sarcophagus, whispering to the shadows of those who dare approach. Long before the rule of two, before the Jedi code carved order from chaos, the Sith were a storm. In the volcanic bowels beneath the Valley of the Dark Lords, blacksmiths clad in scaled aprons toiled. Their forges were fed not by coal, but by the molten rage of Korriban itself. They worked in pits where lava rivers hissed and spat, hammering swords from ore mined in the tombs of fallen Sith spawn. Each strike of the hammer was a prayer to suffering, each quench in the blood of slaves a sacrament. The greatest of these blades, the Sith Ariketh, or perfected edge, was no lifeless metal. Sith alchemists chanted incantations as they folded hatred into the steel, their voices harmonizing with the screams of bound spirits. Runes were carved with needles of bone, each sigil a prison for a fragment of the Maker's soul. To wield such a sword was to marry one's will to the dark side's endless hunger. Legends tell of Lord Dathka Graush, who fed his blade the hearts of 1,000 Jedi. With each kill, the sword grew heavier, its edge sharper, until it could cleave starships in half. But the sword's thirst became his own. In his final moments, as rebels stormed his citadel, Graush found himself unable to release the hilt. The metal had fused to his flesh, bones blackened to ash beneath its grip. Exar Kun's hands were the next to claim it. In the days when Sith empires stretched like gnarled fingers across the galaxy, the sword passed from usurper to usurper. Naga Sado carried it into the hyperspace wars, its runes flaring as he bombarded worlds with supernovas. During the Great Schism, it tasted the blood of Jedi traitors in the temple's sanctum. But the sword's true power lay not in slaughter. It was a mirror, amplifying its master's ambition until it devoured them. When Kun's spirit was entombed on Yavin IV, the sword vanished, buried by loyalists beneath Korriban's shifting sands. For millennia, it whispered to pilgrims through the stone, promising glory to those who unearthed it. Many tried. Their skeletons, fused to the tomb walls, still clutch at pickaxes frozen mid-swing. The sword's silence broke with the coming of Darth Bane. Guided by visions of a blade forged in the fire of stars, Bane dispatched cultists to scour Marka Ragnos's tomb. They found the sarcophagus sealed with chains of pure cortosis, its surface etched with warnings in dead tongues. When the lid cracked open, the chamber's glow globes burst in a shower of sparks. The air turned gelid, breath frosting in lungs. Darth Zana, ever her master's shadow, reached inside. The moment her fingers brushed the hilt, the tomb shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling as the sword's runes ignited, casting hellish light across the reliefs of ancient massacres. Bane watched, silent, as Zana lifted the blade. It sang, a low, resonant note that vibrated in the teeth of all present. "This," Zana murmured, is power unbound. The Conclave's ambush came at dusk. Dissident Sith, clinging to the old ways of endless war, surrounded Bane and Zannah in a canyon of jagged spires. Their leader, a hulking Anzati with eyes like smoldering coals, spat curses at Bane's heresy. "The rule of two is a chain," he snarled, igniting a vibro sword crackling with stolen Jedi lightning. "We are Legion!" Zannah stepped forward, the Sith sword humming in her grip. The clash was thunder. The Anzati's first strike, meant to cleave her skull, met the sword's edge, and his blade shattered like glass. Dark energy rippled outward, shearing the canyon walls. Zannah moved like smoke, the sword's weight non-existent in her hands. It drank the Anzati's next blow, the runes flaring as it siphoned his fury into itself. With a twist, she severed his arm, then his head, the sword's edge passing through flesh and bone as if they were mist. Around her, the remaining dissidents fell. One, a Twi'lek sorceress, hurled bolts of crimson lightning. The sword absorbed them, its blade glowing white-hot, before lashing back with a storm of its own. Another, a Mandalorian clad in Beskar, lasted 3 breaths before his armor crumpled like foil under the sword's hunger. But as the last foe fell, Zannah staggered. The sword's hilt burned her palm, its whispers now screams. Visions assailed her, galaxies crumbling, Bane's throat beneath the blade, her own face rotting as the sword's first masters had. With a cry, she drove the tip into the obsidian sand, severing the connection. "It is too much," she gasped, her hand blistered and blackened. Bane nodded, though his eyes lingered on the blade. Power demands sacrifice, but even the Sith must choose which sacrifices are worthy. The sword sleeps once more, but its dreams are restless. On Exegol, Sith eternal acolytes scry its location through pools of mercury. On Dromund Kaas, a cult sacrifices virgins to a shard of its blade, believing it a holy relic. Jedi archivists, meanwhile, debate its destruction, but fear handling it might corrupt even their staunchest knights. In the sands of Korriban, the sword waits. Its runes pulse faintly, a heartbeat synced to the dark side's ebb and flow. Some say it calls to the desperate, a smuggler fleeing Hutt justice, a senator nursing secret ambitions, a Jedi knight teetering on the edge of doubt. All who hear its song face the same choice, to master the darkness or be mastered by it. Darth Tyrannus once mused that the Sith sword was a paradox, a weapon that conquers all but its wielder. Yet in the dead of night, when even Sith lords quiet their scheming, a question lingers. What if the sword's true purpose is not to serve, but to test? To cull the weak, ensuring only the strongest darkness survives?
The answer, perhaps, lies in the hand that next raises it, and whether they understand that every blade cuts both ways.
From the ashes of rigid tradition rises a weapon of fluid ruin, a lash of plasma that defies form and forges chaos. In its wake, even the mightiest defenses crumble. In the forgotten underbelly of Nar Shaddaa, where neon signs flicker like dying stars and the air reeks of spilled hyperfuel, whispers slither through the crowds. They speak of a weapon that defies the Jedi's rigid elegance, a flicker of darkness that moves. Not a blade, but a creature, a light whip, its plasma tendrils hissing through the air like starved ack dogs straining at their chains. To face it is to dance with chaos itself. Long before the rule of two codified Sith ambition, their warlords reveled in experimentation. On Korriban's blood-soaked sands, where the tombs of ancient dark lords hum with unresolved rage, Sith artisans toiled in volcanic forges. They sought weapons that mirrored the dark side's caprice, unpredictable, untamed. The light whip was their masterpiece. Cortosis fibers, woven into cables as supple as a hut's sinew, were bathed in kyber-infused acid until they screamed with dark energy. Each crack of the whip was a chorus of tormented crystals, its tendrils lashing like the tongues of long-dead Sith spawn. But raw power was not enough. The whip demanded symbiosis. A Sith acolyte who faltered in focus might find the weapon coiling around their own throat, its hunger unchecked. Only those who fed it pain, their own or others, could command its loyalty. The Shadow Weave did not invent the light whip. She perfected it. Exiled to Dathomir after her master's fall, Lumiya wandered the ashen plains where Night Sister spirits clawed at the living. In the Cave of Whispers, she bargained with the spectre of Gethzerion, trading her memories of sunlight for forbidden weavings. Night Sister magic fused with Sith alchemy, birthing a whip that thought. Its tendrils learned, adapted, craved. Holocrons show fragments of her trials. Lumiya, sparring with rancors, her whip severing talons mid-swing. In one recording, the weapon coils around a Jedi Knight's blade, yanking it into a pit of molten rock. Tradition is a cage, she murmurs to the holocron's ghostly eye. The Jedi fear what cannot be parried. The moon had no name, only coordinates etched on a Sith star map crusted with dried blood. Jedi Master Talia Mundi arrived under a sky bruised by perpetual thunderheads. Rain slashed sideways, stinging her face as she climbed the steps of the Temple of Broken Chains. Lumiya awaited her in the inner sanctum, the light whip coiled at her hip like a sleeping serpent. "You speak of peace," Lumiya sneered, her voice harmonizing with the whip's low hum. "But peace is a lie. Let me show you truth." The whip unfurled. A jagged bolt of crimson lightning made flesh. Talia's azure blade met it in a shower of sparks, the impact shuddering up her arms. She pivoted, Form 6's fluid grace guiding her, but the whip changed. One tendril split into three, lashing at her ankles, throat, and saber hand simultaneously. Talia leapt backward, her boot heels skidding on rain-slick stone. Lumiya advanced, her movements a liquid mockery of lightsaber forms. The whip carved runes into the temple pillars, each glyph sparking to life with sickly violet light. Talia's comlink exploded in her palm, severed by a tendril's flick. "You fight as the Jedi taught you," Lumiya taunted. "Predictable." Talia's breath grew ragged. The whip's tendrils left no clean wounds, only searing welts that throbbed with residual dark energy. Her left arm hung useless, the nerves scorched by a glancing strike. Yet in the pain, clarity bloomed. She stopped resisting the storm. As Lumiya lunged, Talia dropped to her knees, plunging her saber into a gash torn in the temple floor. The whip's tendrils pursued, plunging into the pooled rainwater, and Talia unleashed a surge of force lightning. Not the Sith's corruptive fury, but raw, unfiltered energy drawn from the storm itself. The whip screamed. Plasma tendrils writhed, recoiling into Lumiya's hilt as the feedback surge ravaged its kyber heart. The weapon convulsed, its tendrils lashing wildly until the hilt erupted in a shower of shrapnel. Lumiya staggered, her face a mask of rage and disbelief. "Flexibility," Talia gasped, rising on trembling legs. "Without purpose is just another kind of prison." the shattered whip's fragments became relics of paradox. On Coruscant's black markets, a single cortosis fiber sold for a senator's ransom. Sith acolytes ingested powdered kyber from the hilt, hoping to inherit its ferocity, only to vomit black bile and dream of drowning in endless storms. Jedi archivists debated Talia's tactics in hushed tones. Had she skirted the dark side, or proved that the light could bend without breaking? In the Dathomirian wilderness, Night Sister elders wove tales of Lumiya's folly. Their apprentices trained with electrified ropes, learning to merge discipline with wildness. "The whip is a river," they hissed. "Swim with its current, but do not let it pull you under." Master Kira Tan, a grizzled Jedi survivalist, codified the lesson. On the remote moon of Kafrine, she drills Padawans in the Whip Guard, a defensive form blending Soresu's resilience with Ataru's agility. Trainees spar against drones fitted with plasma tendrils, their movements a ballet of anticipation. "Do not block," Kira barks. "Redirect. Chaos cannot be controlled, only survived." Rumors persist that Kira keeps a shard of Lumiya's whip in her meditation chamber, not as a trophy, but a reminder. "The light whip's legacy endures in the galaxy's cracks and crevices." Bounty hunters on Tatooine trade schematics for chain sabers that spit and sputter. A Chiss duelist on Shilla wields a frost whip, its tendrils trailing vapor like a comet's tail. And deep in the unknown regions, a Sith cult kneels before an altar of shattered kyber, chanting Lumiya's name like a prayer. But in the temple of broken chains, rain still falls through the shattered roof. The runoff pools in the whip's scorch marks, forming a mirror that reflects neither light nor dark, only the storm. When a Mandalorian engineer merges Beskar steel with a lightsaber's heart, the resulting weapon bends gravity itself, spinning defenses into whirlwinds, offense into collapsing stars. But in the eye of the storm, what remains of the warrior and the blade? In the graveyard of stars, where derelict warships orbit like skeletal sentinels, the eclipse of hope drifts. Its corridors echo with the whispers of the dead, rusted bulkheads groaning like arthritic joints, frost blooming across viewports where the eyes of crewmen once pressed. Deep within its necrotic heart, a faint pulse thrums. Not life, but its antithesis, a lightsaber hilt, half buried in a nest of frayed wiring, emitting a sickly glow that stains the air the color of jaundiced skin. Its hum is wet, labored, as if breathing its last, or its first. Long before empires rose and fell, a Jedi named Corran Vex sought to heal a galaxy at war. In a laboratory carved into the glaciers of Maigito, he studied the Blackwing virus, a pathogen that had ravaged Mandalorian legions during the Neo-Crusades. His aim was noble: to bend its hunger toward protection, to forge a weapon that could disable armies without death. He bathed a kyber crystal in vats of mutagenic slurry, whispering healing mantras as the stone drank deep. But the force recoiled. The crystal screamed, fracturing into shards that pulsed with virulent light. When Vex ignited the blade, its golden hue curdled to bile yellow, and the air filled with the stench of gangrenous flesh. The first victim was his Padawan, a nick on her finger during sparring. Within hours, her veins blackened like rotten roots. By dawn, she stood at his door, pupils dilated into voids, teeth gnashing a wet, wordless plea. Vex sealed the lab, etching warnings in blood on the doors. But the saber had already learned to hunger. Centuries later, greed lured the desperate to the tomb. The Night Silk's promise, a freighter crewed by scarred souls seeking riches in the graveyard of giants, docked with the Eclipse. Captain Vora, a Twi'lek with a cybernetic Leku, led her team into the corpse ship's belly. They found the Saber amid a nest of mummified corpses, their faces frozen in silent howls. First Mate Krell, a grizzled Deveronian, laughed as he claimed it. "Worth more than your ship, Captain," he sneered, igniting the blade. The light painted their faces corpse green. By the time they reached the airlock, Krell's hand had begun to shed. Skin sloughed off in grey ribbons, revealing muscle that twitched like maggot flesh. He turned on Vora in the docking tube, teeth sinking into her throat. The survivors sealed the airlock, watching through frosted glass as Krell's body split. Tendrils of blackened viscera squirming toward the seals. The saber rolled from his grip, glowing brighter with each scream. The Venator's wreck near Taris became its next shrine. A band of Jakku scavengers, drawn by rumors of unclaimed proton warheads, pried open its tomb-like hangar. Among them was Jin, a girl who'd survived the Rathtar pits by smelling death before it struck. She begged her crew not to touch the hilt resting on the command throne. They mocked her, their leader Taslim brandishing it like a trophy. When the blade awoke, it purred. Taslim sliced a durasteel beam, a clean cut that hissed with oily smoke. Then the coughing began. Blood speckled his grin. By nightfall, his eyes wept viscous black tears. He cornered Jin in the engine room, his jaw unhinging like a serpent's, and bit through her durasteel gauntlet. She fled, sealing corridors behind her, as the infected turned on each other in a cannibal waltz. Only the droid remained. Designation: DD-13. A medical unit forged during the Clone Wars, its memory banks heavy with plagues, blue shadow, Kandorian chills, Geonosian brainworm. It recognized the stench. As the last scavenger fell, DD-13 calculated odds: 97.3% chance of galactic pandemic, 2.7% a Bacta infusion to the hilt's core might induce remission. Ethical subroutines screamed. DD-13 overrode them. The droid lunged, precision tools unsheathing. The blade seared its chassis as it jammed a Bacta vial into the emitter. The saber shrieked, its light flaring like a dying star before dimming to ember red. DD-13 dragged itself to the quarantine vault, joints grinding. As the door sealed, it replayed a memory, a youngling on Coruscant, giggling as DD-13 bandaged her scraped knee. The droid's final log echoed in the dark. Containment secured. Mortality rate: 99.98%. Survivors: 0.02%. Hypothesis: hope remains. Legends fester. The New Republic scrubbed all records, but whispers seeped into cantinas and slave pits. On Nar Shaddaa, a hut peddles Black Wing elixir made of engine coolant and rot. On Dromund Kaas, Sith cultists chant to a holocron of Taslim's final moments. And in the unknown regions, a Chiss bioweaponer dissects DD-13's logs, splicing the virus into droid cores. Yet in the Jedi archives, a single line endures. Master Vex's final journal entry scrawled in shaking script. The cure was never in the blade, but in the hand that refuses to wield it. The eclipse of hope still drifts. Its corridors hum with the click of chitinous legs, the wet slap of half-formed things slithering toward the Saber's crypt. The blade pulses slower now, a heartbeat lulled to dormancy. But in the dark, it dreams of hands greedy for power, of wars yet to come, of a galaxy ripe for harvest. And somewhere, a spark flickers, not of plague, but of defiance. From the heart of a dying star, a blade reborn, forged in supernova fire, tempered by the tears of Iego's weeping monks. Its light does not heal, but ignites. A beacon for the lost, proof that even ash may rise. In the hollowed belly of the second Death Star, where shadows clung like mourners to a grave, Luke Skywalker walked alone. The air tasted of ionized metal and forgotten screams. Around him, the ruins of the battle station groaned, a dying Leviathan adrift in the tides of Kef Bir's storm-racked ocean. His boots sank into ash, still warm from the reactor's final breath. Somewhere in this carcass of tyranny, he sought answers. Not in the Force, but in the silence between its whispers. He found it near the skeletal remains of the superlaser core, a cluster of kyber shards, their once imperial crimson bleached to ghostly pallor by the explosion. These were the Death Star's teeth, now broken and scattered. Luke knelt, gloves brushing their fractured edges. They hummed faintly, not with the malice of Sith-forged blades, but with a plea, a longing to be remade, and then a glint of gold. Beneath a tangle of durasteel beams lay a relic from a gentler age, the hilt of a Jedi temple guard's saber pike, its once vibrant yellow crystal dimmed by centuries of neglect. Luke cradled it, feeling the echo of Coruscant's grand halls in its grooves. Here, in the heart of darkness, two remnants of fallen guardians called to one another. Kyber and hilt, both shattered, both yearning to be whole. The ritual began at twilight, on a forgotten moon where the winds carried the scent of blooming ash roses. Luke built his forge inside the ribcage of a fallen AT-AT, its armor plating repurposed into an anvil. The temple guard's hilt was disassembled, its ancient crystal cleansed in a bath of starlight and salt. The Death Star's kyber shards he tempered with shards of his own resolve. Memories of Ben's laughter, Leia's steadfastness, the weight of Vader's mask in his hands. With each strike of his hammer, the crystals fused, their song shifting from a dirge to a lullaby. When the blade awoke, it did not roar, it breathed. A golden light spilled forth, warm as Tatooine's twin suns cresting the dunes. The beam flickered, alive with imperfections, veins of white where light fought through cracks, a corona of amber that seemed to pulse in time with Luke's heartbeat. He named it Sun Dragon, for it carried the heat of rebirth in its glow, a flame kindled from the marrow of ruin. Decades later, under Jakku's merciless sky, the Sun Dragon stirred once more. Rey knelt in the dust, the saber's hilt cool against her palm. She'd found it in the belly of a derelict star destroyer, nestled between the ribs of a rusted droid, a silent sentinel guarding its charge. Now, as TIE fighters screeched overhead and the air reeked of burning convoy transports, she reached for the bond she'd forged with the blade. It hummed, not in her mind, but in her bones, a resonance deeper than the Force. The first stormtrooper fell before his blaster cleared its holster. Rey moved as the saber guided her, a dance of light against the encroaching dark. Each parry sent gilded ripples through the sand. Each strike left smoldering sigils in the earth. The Sun Dragon's warmth seeped into the wounded ground, coaxing pale shoots of ironweed through Jakku's barren crust. When the ATST loomed, its cannons charging, Rey did not falter. She leapt, the blade's glow reflecting in the war machine's photoreceptor. A thrust to the fuel line, a twist of the wrist. Golden fire bloomed in the walker's belly, its collapse sending up a plume of sand that glittered like shattered stars. He came with the sandstorm, a spectre in tattered Sith robes, his saber a jagged fang of bleeding crimson. "You wield a relic," the acolyte sneered, his voice a rasp of corrupted vocoder. "Gold is the color of fools, of children who still believe in dawn." Their blades met in a shower of sparks. Rey felt the sun dragon strain, its light recoiling from the acolyte's venom. She saw his story in flashes, a temple youngling spared by Kylo Ren's purge, raised on lies and the cold arithmetic of the dark. His strikes were precise, relentless, each one aimed to extinguish her hope. But the sun dragon remembered. In the clinch, as crimson plasma hissed against gold, Rey reached beyond the fight. To Luke's hands shaping the hilt, to the temple guard who'd once stood watch over 1,000 generations, to the Death Star's victims whose final breaths lived in the Kyber. The blade flared, its light a supernova that peeled the acolyte's shadows like parchment. He stumbled, his weapon sputtering. For a heartbeat, Rey saw the boy he'd been. Terrified, alone, clutching a stolen holocron. "Dawn always comes," she whispered. The sandstorm parted. The acolyte fled, his cloak smoldering. They say Zakuul never blooms. Yet, where the sun dragon's tip had pierced the earth, a garden grew. Ironweed and frost blossoms thriving in irradiated soil. The convoy survivors built a shrine there, stacking salvaged stormtrooper helmets into a cairn. Pilgrims come now, Jedi and civilian alike, to press their palms to the warm sand and hear the faint hum beneath the surface. In Luke's final holocron, recorded in the moss-draped quiet of Arch-To, he smiles. The dark rises, and light to meet it, not as mirror, but as answer. The sun dragon was never mine. It belongs to those who dare to kindle hope, even in the ashes. Today, the saber rests in the heart of the new Jedi temple, a beacon atop a spire of glass and durasteel. Younglings gather at dawn, their own golden blades igniting in unison. The air thrums with their joined light, a chorus against the lingering night. And somewhere in the unknown regions, a scavenger with a rebel's blood touches a shard of Kyber, feeling the echo of a dragon's roar. Beyond metal and crystal lies a saber that breathes, a sentient storm of plasma bound to its wielder's soul. But when weapon and warrior share a heartbeat, where does the Jedi end? And the blade begin, beneath Ilum's frozen crust, where glaciers carve their slow prayers into stone. The crystal caves breathe. Here, the air itself is alive, a symphony of whispers trapped in ice for millennia. Moonlight filters through cathedral-like vaults, fracturing into prismatic shards that dance across walls veined with Kyber. To step into these chambers is to step into the throat of the Force itself, where every footfall resonates like a struck chord, and the cold bites with the precision of a tuning fork. Long before the Jedi Order etched its first runes into temple stone, the caves called to those who could listen. Ancient pilgrims, Force-sensitive mystics with frost-lashed robes, braved the labyrinthine tunnels, drawn by legends of the Choir of the Crystals. They spoke of veins of Kyber that thrummed in harmonic convergence, their vibrations weaving melodies only the pure of heart could hear. These early seekers left no holocrons, only echoes. fragments of song etched into ice, or the faint imprint of a handprint where a weary traveler paused, weeping at the beauty of a note only they could perceive. The rituals began in reverence. Aspirants would kneel before crystal clusters, their breath fogging the air as they chanted hymns older than the stars. The goal was not to claim a crystal, but to court it, to let the Kyber's resonance intertwine with their own pulse. Those who succeeded spoke of visions, a blade's hum becoming a voice, its pitch rising and falling with the cadence of their intentions. A strike might ring out like a war gong. A defensive flourish could sigh like a lullaby. These were the first singing sabers, weapons as much art as armament. Yet the harmony was fragile. A Jedi chronicle from the First Great Schism tells of Master Kalis Vun, whose saber emitted a tone so pure it could pacify entire battalions. But during the Battle of Malrev IV, as doubt crept into his heart, the blade's song curdled into a dissonant screech. Both allies and foes clutched their ears, blood trickling from their nostrils as the sound ravaged the battlefield. Kalis deactivated his saber mid-swing, retreating into self-imposed exile. The lesson was etched into Jedi lore. A singing saber mirrors the soul. Perfection demands not just skill, but surrender. Centuries later, the caves called to another. Padawan Sierra Valen arrived on Ilum during the 9th Jedi Purge, her boots crunching through snowdrifts tinged pink with the light of dawn. The galaxy burned. Sith legions scoured the stars for Jedi relics. But here, in the heart of the caves, time held its breath. Guided by a melody only she could hear, Sierra pressed her palm to a wall of ice. The Kyber within flickered, its light cascading through her veins like liquid starlight. The crystal she unearthed was no ordinary shard. It pulsed with iridescent fire, its facets humming a mournful tune that echoed the dirges of her war-torn home. As Sierra fastened it into her hilt, a slender alloy frame inlaid with Alderaanian songwood, she felt the weapon shift in her grip, alive as a nesting convor. Her blade awoke in darkness. On the besieged world of Keldaru, Sierra stood alone on a bridge between hope and ruin. Refugees huddled in the shadow of the great spire, their faces gaunt under the sickly glow of orbital bombardment. When Sith-aligned marauders descended, vibroblades thirsty for blood, Sierra ignited her saber. A single note pierced the chaos, clear and resonant as a temple bell. The marauders froze. Their leader, a hulking Deveronian with scarred knuckles, blinked as if waking from a dream. The saber's song swelled, weaving through the crowd like a gentle hand unclenching fists. Sierra moved, not with the aggression of combat, but the grace of a conductor. Each parry released an arpeggio that loosened armor straps. Each flourish hummed a lullaby that softened snarls into whispers. One by one, blades clattered to the ground. But shadows linger even in light. When a child's scream tore through the air, a stray blaster bolt searing the edge of her cloak, Sierra's fear surged. The saber's melody faltered, its tone splintering into a jagged shriek. Marauders recoiled, clawing at their ears as the sound drilled into their minds. Sierra glimpsed fractured memories. A warrior's first kill, a mother's abandonment, a lifetime of wounds laid bare. Her grip tightened, the hilt burning her palm as the song spiraled into cacophony. With a gasp, she severed the connection. Silence fell, heavy as a shroud. Sierra's saber never sang again. Yet her holocron remains a testament in the Jedi archives, its flickering image urging acolytes to listen deeper than the blade. Some heeded her call, On Ossus, masters developed tonal meditation, attuning Padawans to their crystal's frequency through breath and mantra. Acolytes like Tai Lin Jerrick crafted tone jars, tiny resonators that capture a saber's hum, revealing hidden harmonics in its pulse. And in the caves of Ilum, the choir endures. During the Clone Wars, Master Yaddle herself led a rite in the deepest chamber. Younglings circled a Kyber monolith, their combined chants stirring a chord so profound the walls sang back in 12-part harmony. It's said the sound lingered for days, a balm for clones stationed on the icy surface. True singing sabers are rarer than dying stars. They ask everything of their wielders: vulnerability, discipline, the courage to hear one's own discord. Yet their legacy lingers in every Jedi's grip. Modern sabers still hum, a ghost of that primordial music, a reminder that the Force's song is never silent. It waits, patient as ice, for the next heart brave enough to harmonize. And now, as the last note fades, another spark kindles. Journey back to the genesis of the blade, when light was shackled to clanking power packs and ingenuity burned brighter than plasma. Here, in the smoke of the first forge, a tethered flame forever changed the dance between Jedi and steel. In the trembling silence of a forgotten age, where starlight strained to pierce the smoke of primal forges, the first breath of a legend stirred. Imagine it. A cavernous workshop, its walls blackened by centuries of soot, where the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Here, in the flicker of furnace embers, an apprentice's hands hovered over a skeletal hilt, a crude amalgam of scavenged metals and fraying wires. The room hummed with anticipation, the scent of ionized ozone sharp enough to taste. With a prayer whispered into the stillness, the apprentice triggered the ignition. A jagged snap hiss shattered the dark. A blade of raw plasma erupted, a trembling, unstable tongue of gold and crimson light. It spat and crackled like living lightning, tethered to its trembling creator by a thick, coiling cable that snaked back to a humming power pack on the stone floor. This was the Proto-Saber, not the sleek weapon of future knights, but a roaring wild thing, a newborn star caged in mortal hands. The apprentice staggered beneath its weight, their face illuminated in the blade's primal glow, eyes wide with awe and terror. Somewhere in the shadows, their master nodded. Every legend, after all, must begin with a spark. Millennia before Kyber crystals sang in harmony with their wielders, the earliest Jedi artisans labored in isolation. On Tython's windswept plateaus and in Ossus's crystalline catacombs, they wrestled with forces they scarcely understood. Their workshops were cluttered with relics of a galaxy not yet civilized. Hyperdrive cores gutted for their capacitors, repulsor lift generators stripped of their gravitic coils. The goal was singular, to bind light itself into a weapon. But progress was glacial, a dance of trial and error under the Force's watchful gaze. The Proto-Saber's design was born of necessity. Without miniaturized power cells, the Jedi anchored their blades to external packs. Bulky, wheezing contraptions of durasteel and cortosis mesh, slung across backs or dragged on sledges. Activating the blade was an act of faith. Early models burned white-hot for mere minutes before overheating, their cables smoldering like fuse cords. Yet even these flawed creations became talismans. To wield one was to straddle the line between artisan and warrior, your fate literally tethered to the clanking pack at your hip. Apprentices learned harsh lessons. A poorly coiled cable could trip its wielder mid-combat. A misaligned crystal lens might refract plasma backward, severing the hand that held it. Still, they persisted. Some modified their packs with hydrocoolants, the steam from their rigs billowing around them like dragon's breath. Others braided their cables with frick fibers, praying the near-indestructible alloy would survive the next clash. Each adjustment, each scorched palm and scarred forearm, carried the Jedi closer to their dream, a blade unshackled. The siege began at dusk, beneath a sky choked with ash. Jedi Knight Faelora stood at the gates of the Vurtepe monastery, her Proto-Saber hissing in the half-light. Behind her, the fortress's ancient spires trembled under artillery fire. Ahead, an army of mercenary droids advanced, their photoreceptors glowing like a field of venomous insects. The monastery's defenders were few, a handful of scholars, their lightsabers outnumbered 10 to 1. But within those walls lay holocrons containing the chants of Ashla, sacred texts that could tip the war's balance. Failure was unthinkable. Faelora's weapon was a relic even then. A third-generation Proto-Saber with a serrated bronze blade, its cable reinforced with Mandalorian iron. As the first blaster bolt streaked toward her, she moved. The cable whipped behind her like the tail of a comet, its durasteel links scraping sparks from the volcanic rock. Each parry sent molten shrapnel flying into the droid ranks. Each swing carved trenches into the earth. For a moment it seemed the tide might turn, until the smell of burnt circuitry stung the air. Her power pack was failing. Smoke curled from its vents. The blade flickered, its hum fading to a death rattle. Enemy snipers took aim, their rifles trained on the cable's vulnerable midpoint. A shot rang out, the cable severed, its severed end spitting angry embers. Faelora stared at the lifeless hilt in her hand, then at the advancing droids. Desperation birthed inspiration. With a roar, she jammed the hilt's raw connector into her vambrace, an armored gauntlet housing a reserve battery meant for comlinks. The jury-rigged circuit screamed in protest, overloading the metal until it glowed cherry red. But the blade rekindled, erupting in an unstable spire of light. Pain seared her arm, yet she charged, carving a molten path through the siege droids' ranks. When she reached their commander, a hulking XL-7 war machine, she plunged the saber into its core, melting through layers of armor until the droid detonated in a firestorm. The blast hurled Faelora backward, her smoldering vambrace fused to her flesh. But the path was clear. The surviving Jedi surged forward, their own blades bright with renewed hope. The monastery held. The Proto-Saber's reign ended not with a bang, but a whisper. Generations of artisans refined the design, their breakthroughs measured in millimeters. Power cells shrank, fueled by Ilum's crystal caves. Kyber crystals, once unstable conduits, learned to bond with their wielders. One by one, the cables were shed, relics of a cruder time. Yet the old ways are not forgotten. Deep within the Jedi archives, a single chamber pays homage to the first blades. Proto-Sabers rest on velvet cushions, their cables coiled like sleeping serpents. Apprentices linger here, tracing fingers over rusted hilts. Some swear they hear echoes, the frantic breaths of long-dead inventors, the sizzle of molten stone. On Ossus, the Retro-Saber rites endure. Each year, masters and Padawans craft cable-tethered sabers, dueling beneath the blood-red moon. The fights are slow, deliberate, a dance of remembrance. With every clashing blade, they honor the pioneers who fought with one eye on their enemy, the other on the cable at their feet. Legacy is not forged in perfection, but in persistence. Every lightsaber born today, every hum, every flash of light in the dark, carries the DNA of those early prototypes. The Proto-Saber's lesson endures. Brilliance is often born in the balance between ambition and limitation, between the dream of a star and the reality of a spark. And now, as the echoes of that first blade fade, another light rises. In the shadowed canopies of Kashyyyk, where sunlight struggles to pierce the eternal twilight, a Wookiee craftsman discovers a crystal unlike any other, a gem that burns not with stolen light, but with the fire of 1,000 ancient suns. Here, a blade is forged not for war, but for remembrance. In the towering canopies of Kashyyyk's ancient forests, shafts of emerald light dance across mossy trunks, and the air thrums with unseen life. There, where Wookiee elders whisper tales beside bioluminescent fungi, a single bronze blade ignites, a warm torch in the wild wood's twilight. Its glow ripples like molten dawn, a testament to one Wookiee's courage to forge his own path, proving that in a galaxy of many blades, the rarest spark is the one born of individuality. Lowbacca was never content to walk only in his uncle Chewbacca's colossal footsteps. From his earliest days in the hilly warrens of Kashyyyk, he studied both the roar of battle and the hush of reflection beneath dangling roots. When the Jedi Praxium opened on Yavin 4, he carried with him core memories of Wookiee honor and loyalty, determined to blend that heritage with Jedi discipline. Under Luke Skywalker's patient guidance, he honed his instincts with every form, every meditation, yet a single question haunted him. Which blade would reflect who he truly was? In the Praxium's relic vault, he found an enhancement jewel, an artifact rumored to amplify compassion and caution in equal measure. Fitting it into a hilt of polished duralloy and woven cortosis fibers, he ignited the saber. The result was unlike any other, a bronze-hued blade that pulsed gently, reminiscent of Rosia tree sap, warmed by sun. Its club-like length paid homage to Wookiee strength, while its slender edge honored Jedi precision. In that moment, Lowbacca realized that uniqueness bore its own power, a singular spark that no other could replicate. Lowbacca's trial arrived on the forest moon of Murka, where Imperial remnants trafficked giant Isalamiri for dark side experiments. Under looming spires carved by unknown hands, he confronted armed mercenaries in a labyrinth of fungal towers. Their blasters cracked and roared, echoing across luminescent spores that drifted like snow. He strode into the fray, bronze saber gleaming in the orb light. Each swing carved through threats with a balletic force, rippling bronze arcs that trimmed laser fire in midair. When a heavy armor trooper charged, Lowbacca spun his blade into a defensive whirlwind, the club's broader edge absorbing impact and splintering the trooper's forearm guard. Sparks flew as ember-bright as Kashyyyk's fireflies. But the true test came when a massive Isalamir beast, caged for smuggling, broke free in panic. Its psychic ripple threatened to nullify Lowbacca's bond to the Force, turning the environment into a blur of distortion. Unfazed, he fixed the blade's glow on the creature's eyes, roared in Shiriwook, and advanced. Each step was measured, relying on muscle memory and intuition rather than Force guidance. When the Isalamir lunged, Lowbacca met it with unyielding bronze resolve, disarming its charge with a single precise parry that left the beast dazed, not wounded, an act of mercy rooted in respect. As the creature's thrashing subsided, Imperial mercenaries surrendered at the sight of the Wookiee Jedi's radiant blade. Lowbacca stood amid the smoky aftermath, the bronze glow bathing charred cages and spent shell casings in hopeful light. Word of the bronze Enigma spread across both galactic and Wookiee channels. On Kashyyyk, youth-crafted training sabers tipped in copper alloys, practicing block and thrust beneath living trees. In Jedi enclaves, instructors displayed Lowbacca's saber blueprint alongside ancient Mandalorian lances and Jedi temple pikes, teaching that a blade's shape and hue carry as much meaning as its edge. Historians now record Lowbacca's creation as a turning point, a reminder that the Force flows through individuality as much as tradition. Storytellers on Coruscant recite verses of the Wookiee Torchbearer, a poem in Basic and Shiriwook, celebrating the bronze beam that honored both past and future. Collectors prize the hilt's enhancement jewel as a symbol of balanced intent, while artisans craft replicas that flicker in amber tones, honoring a saber whose glow is as alive as the forests from which its maker came. In a galaxy of endless possibility, the rarest saber is the one only you can imagine. From the silent sentinels of the Jedi Temple to the wild inventors on the galactic fringe, the rarest and strangest lightsabers reveal not just the diversity of the Force, but the boundless creativity and folly of those who wield it. Each blade is a story, each color a choice, and each hilt a testament to the dreams, fears, and ambitions of its maker. As we leave the glow of these legendary weapons behind, we're reminded that in Star Wars, rarity is more than just a matter of color or design. It's the mark of those who dare to be different. So which saber would you choose to carry into the unknown, and what story would it tell about you?